Welcome to On Air with Kash. We're kicking off season 9 with my dear friend Viola Harlow. It is so good to have you on the show. We just were at Film Fest LA Live. You're a winner, Best Emerging Female Artist. You have a new book and some new music coming out. How are you?
I'm all right. Wildfires were bad, and it's just been a crazy time. But yeah, I think it's been really cool to see everyone come together, and I think it's funny because I think LA is thought of as like, oh, everyone's just in it for themselves. But I've seen so many videos where they like Costco is sold out because everyone came and bought everything for donations, wanted to start helping and came together. And that's what I love about LA. Everyone thinks LA is this like very shallow place, but it actually is a city full of artists with a lot of empathy. And I think a lot of people have weird brands and things that may be off-putting or, look fancy and look like they don't care about the common American man. But actually, I think it's one of the most caring places in the world.
You're right. Everyone came together. I saw a lot of unity. We were all checking in on each other. You and I have something in common. We both grew up in the industry. You were a child actress. You went more the musical route. I've had some musical background, but for me, I just understood things more cinematically, and I went to school for communications, and then when I graduated, I thought I was going to be an agent. I started producing again, and I got to work with Joan Jett on a couple movies. I know you have a condition as I do. When I was 22, you know,
Right.
I'd been exposed to a lot, growing up in the family and the industry that I grew up in. And, there were a lot of things I just wasn't getting the proper care for. And I had a lethal arrhythmia when I was 22 in the gym. Fortunately, I was brought back to life by defibrillators that were just placed in. Very fortunate for the team that saved me, or 24 Hour Fitness. So I feel like we both had that journey.
The way that you look at the world is so much more, it's brighter, it's crisper, it's there. You're taking it in for everything that it is because you almost lost it. And little things like when I was in the ICU, I was so fixated on this palm tree outside my window. And I was just like, one goal, get outside, hear the palm tree, because it was so silent in there. And it was just so, the double layer glass, and all you hear is beeping and you smell alcohol. I just wanted to smell the jasmine, the smog, and hear the palm tree branches. That was like my big dream. Before that, I wanted an Oscar, a Grammy, I wanted an EGOT. And when I was in the ICU, I was like, I want the palm tree. And when I got out, they were wheeling me out in a wheelchair, and I was like, no, you gotta turn left. I have to say hi to this tree. They were like, what? And I was like, please. It was a goal. I lived to see the tree, and so I got to the tree and just looked at it, and I could hear the branches. And the nurse was like, "Are you done?" But it's like the way that I take in everything when I'm making art now. I feel like I'm just checked in so viscerally. Before, everything was just kind of flying around me, and I was half conscious, and I was there, and I felt things deeply always since I was a kid. I was a good crier when I was a child actor. That was why I got booked a lot. But I feel like my anxiety disorder just like left out the door because it realized I saw the worst and most scary thing I could. And I was like, well, it's useless now, this anxiety. Because we looked at it and we saw the worst thing, and here we are. It's been really interesting how the way that if you face death, the way that it affects your art, and it's made me a lot more certain of like, this is what I want to say, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to create, this is what's important. I feel a lot more, it's a lot less ego, I think. I think before it was just like, it was fun to feel like glamorous and pop star like, and that's all wonderful, like when they get you all dressed up and whatever. But the point for me is more about, I see a trend I think in our society, empathy is just kind of tanking. And I I don't know if it's a mixture of the internet, education, what's not on TV. Is Mr. Rogers still playing for them in the morning on Saturdays? Like, it's just different than when I was a kid. There were people who didn't care, but it would have been weird to not care, at least publicly and appearance wise.
Right.
Whereas now it's almost kind of like, well, and it's just like there's a lot of hate, a lot of division. And I think, I don't know if it's just the comment sections make that really easy because you can't see each other and you can't see each other face to face, but it was weird to get sick during this time versus like when I was a kid in the 90s and what I thought the world was. Disability is as common as love and war and other themes that we tend to generally focus on and make movies and TV about. And it's just as common, but it's never the story.
You mentioned growing up in the 90s, and that's when I grew up as well too. And then I think, because me, this was right when I graduated from college, and so many bizarre things kind of lined up at that point. But I think, and you grew up in LA too. I think that's where our lives paralleled. And I know what you mean, just growing up in this industry, family members of mine, it's like I was always kind of keeping that quiet. And then the last few years, there's been some stuff in the news. I've addressed certain things, and I was always reluctant to really talk about who extended family members were, because even just growing up, and this is before the internet, there was like such a preconceived notion. And so like, if my cousin married Michael Jackson, then Nicolas Cage, there were like people that were prying in, and I'm like, 8 years old during the Michael era, and you're just, you're getting adults and kids asking you questions, and you're like, nowadays I think people maybe have those tools, but that was something I really struggled with. So, and then when I look back on that time of like, even the 2000s, you were around during then too, just, it was a different world. People were, and you look at what the shows were encouraging, it was like they were encouraging this kind of nepotism, but like, be reckless and, sell a story or get in the tabloids or do anything for attention. And I think that's toned down a bit, but I'm with you where it's like, I'm open to like address what I've been through. This was like having the arrhythmia at 22 and then this new journey on life. And when I meet people such as yourself whose work I admire, who have a similar background like that, growing up in the industry, and then you've struggled with your health issues too, and I see just the kind of person you are. I'm like meeting you was an inspiration to me. When I heard about you, I knew I was going to meet you that day at the event, and then we did our festival together. So when I get to connect with someone like you who's been through it and knows.
So I've had 2 heart attacks. You're facing death all the time. Everyone online has this weird version of you coming from the label.
It's like you've taken your pain and all your experiences and I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been in all areas of the industry. I do like where we are now. I'm feeling a change, people as well too, and that's what I love about like the festival that we were both involved in. We all have a chance to express ourselves, our voice, draw attention in ways that we couldn't before, where even, you're saying you got pushed out of this situation, but now you came back even stronger. You took that experience. You won Best Emerging Female Artist. You're on a roll with your career right now. So I commend you for going through a dark period with everything that you had going on and really overcoming it. That alone makes you an inspiration, Viola. And it's just so remarkable to get to know you, to have had you on the show. And you've got your new music video, Scorsese, out. I know you're writing your book.
Thank you so much.